absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Maybe. So a topic that Abby and I often talk about is comfort and convenience and this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what would we call it, Abby, if you had ultimate convenience and ultimate everything you need? What's a word?
Boring.
Sure, but there's a word,
I think
right?
it's a boring word. You don't have to pay any effort. Just everything is coming here.
Sure, but I think some people call this utopia, right?
That's a utopia. Okay.
Kind of, yeah. You don't, yeah. Everything is there. Everything you want, you have. You've got everything. You've got food. You've got shelter.
People, you don't have
need.
to work, and people
Yeah.
just give you something.
Kind of utopia, right?
Okay, for me it's not utopia, but yeah,
Sure.
for some people think that is.
Sure. So we often talk about this, and I don't know how many people have heard about the mouse or the rat utopia experiment.
Mouse Utopia, like lay down, like can eat a lot of food and drink water or something.
Sounds like you've already given this some thought. So,
It's like according what do you say?
yeah, so I want to show you some of this because a while ago, like quite a long time ago, I think at least like 50 years ago, somebody did experiments with rats.
Okay.
Because, you know, they often try to see what will happen with people and behavior. Like I think I showed you an addiction video once where they did experiments with Rat Park.
Yeah.
Long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And they try to figure out the root causes of addiction based on experiments done with rats.
They drug addict and with a Ray Park.
Yeah, so they put
that
the
kind
rat
of
in a
thing?
cage and they gave it like 2 water bottles.
And they feel
stuff
so
and-
happy, they play, so they don't want to take a drug.
Well,
Is
that
there
was
one?
the second one, the Rat Park one. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They drank the drugs a little bit, whereas when they put the rat in alone, then the rat just killed itself, overdosed on the drugs every time.
Oh,
Right? Yeah, but this is different to that, right? So I think
Yeah.
they wanted to figure out what would happen to rats if they gave them a perfect world. If they gave them all the food they could eat, and just life was easy and life was convenient, and just to
Die
see.
early?
Well, you'll have a look, right? So
Okay.
let's have a look at a little bit of a video, and then after that, I'll show you, because I've also got an article, and we can kind of get into the discussion,
Okay.
and we'll see how we go, right?
Got a story I want to share for you. John B. Calhoun, not to be confused with John C. Calhoun, who's a slave owner who's been canceled from all of society. This is John B. Calhoun, 1960s. He worked at the National Institute for Mental Health. And here was his experiment. You ready? He put up a pen, 9 by 4.5 feet metal pen, and he put 4 pairs of mice in the pen. And he gave them everything. He gave them water dispensers, plenty of food, tunnels, and nesting shelters. Gave them everything that they needed in the hierarchy of needs. Right? The mice could have all the food they could imagine, and there was no predators that would get them. There was no risk to their life whatsoever. He made them a little mouse utopia. Now, the original purpose of the study was to look at population density and study that, right? But he learned a lot more. One of his lines in his analysis was, "I shall largely speak of mice, but my thoughts are on man." Okay, so here's what happened. The number of mice doubled every 55 days, as mice are wont to do. But after 600 days, the population of the mice peaked at 2,200. Again, started with 8. Peaked at 2,200. And there was plenty of room for more. There's room for another 1,600. But then the population declined. To what? Let me ask you that. Population declined. So it was at 8, went up to 2,200, and then declined. How low did it decline? If it got up to 2,200, like maybe it declined to like 1,500 and then kind of plateaued at 1,500? What do you think? Started at 8, went to 2,200, peaked, declined, all the way down to 0. 0. They all died? What do you mean they all died? All of their needs were met. Plenty of food, plenty of water, no predators. Not like a bunch of hawks from the neighboring experiment came in and ate them all. Like, all the mice died.
Okay. So I'm not going to play the whole video, but that's just part of it. So as you can see there, they built the Mouse Utopia, and you can see what he said right in the beginning. The experiment was done to try and examine population. But I think that the results were so interesting that he said that after that he was thinking about rats or mice, but then he started to talk more about people because of what he'd seen.
Oh, you mean after?
But how crazy, right? So you start with 8 mice, you go up to 2,200, and then the population starts to decline. It goes down to absolute zero.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. Did they say how the rats die? It's like they kill each other, or they just don't eat, don't drink, and hungry. Oh.
I found a cool article about this, and I've put it into a Word document, and I've highlighted some parts that we can talk about. So the video basically gave everybody a little bit of a introduction to what they did, and now I can show you some other things, right? So you can see here, he says, so between 1968 and 1970, so I was right, it's about 50 years ago, this guy conducted the behavioral study, okay? And just the parts I've highlighted, so have a look at this. Eventually, they established social orders that created inside and outside factions. And soon, mating ceased altogether.
Huh?
So faction is like a group, so inside group and an outside group. And then they stopped mating, stopped having sex, stopped having babies completely. That's how the population dropped and then stopped, right?
Okay.
All right, so there's the one thing. So let's just go through this. As I say, like I've put, I've highlighted certain things, right? So this is, he said, over the course of these experiments, because he did it a few times, the same sequence of events would happen each time. The mice would meet, okay, mate, and breed in large quantities, so the population would go up. Eventually, a leveling off of the population would occur. After that, the rodents, rodent is just like the rat family, right? They would develop either hostile and cliquish or passive and antisocial behaviors.
Okay.
So hostile, do you know that word?
Hostile.
It's like aggressive towards somebody else.
Very
It's
like a
hostile, like angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad emotion.
And cliquish.
I don't
A
know.
clique is like you know, like if you go to a high school and you see like a group of girls that hang together, and they like
okay.
just
Small
stay together, a little
groups,
group,
small
and they like
circle.
judge everybody else, kind of like a clique,
They
right?
have this.
Yeah. So that happened, and passive and antisocial behaviors.
Okay.
Okay, and then the population would trail off to extinction.
Oh.
Yeah. So after he did this, and he kind of made this term, he coined the phrase behavior sink to describe the results of overcrowding. So the breakdown of social functions and the collapse of populations in the enclosed rat environment. So isn't it interesting to see what would happen is that the people would start, I mean, not people, the rats would start to change and start behaving in these strange types of
Strange way.
ways, and that would lead to the end of their society.
I think they just. I think they're just too boring. You know, some similar behavior I've seen in human.
Well, that's what happened to him. The same thing is happening to you, right? He watched this and he saw what was going on, and he started thinking, this is a lot like people.
Because in my working experience, like sometimes if the working, we don't have too many jobs or something is too boring, I can see, okay, most of the times women gather to like just too boring, they don't have anything else to do, right? So they gather together as a small group. They start to gossip. They start to like point out others.
Sure. But this is why we have that expression in English where the idle hands are the devil's best tools. So when your hands aren't busy, you get up to trouble. But but for rats, right? I mean, he gave them tunnels and things to play with. And they could have sex, they had food. But it was interesting, there's no risk. There were no predators like cats or other animals that would eat them, so they were completely safe.
Just like a lost woman in small group, they can watch Netflix or some Korean drama all the time, and their husband give them food, house, and it's like a similar, you know.
But I think that it was a key thing that he's also talking about. It says it here, in a predator-free environment. So there are no predators, nothing to
no
risk
one
that's gonna eat
against you. Yeah, you do.
And then they would mate and breed in these large quantities, right? So I get what you're saying about being bored, but what do rats do for work? Just look for food.
Look for food,
So they were
right?
given food, so they didn't have to look for it. So they were safe, and they also didn't have to look for food. It was plentiful. It was easy to get food, so
Yeah.
less work, I guess what you
Yeah,
say
less
makes
work.
sense.
Uh-huh.
All right. So then expanding on the early studies, he devised his ultimate research experiment, and he called this Universe 25. So I'm guessing that was the 25th version he did.
Mm-hmm.
So a population of mice would grow within a 2.7 square meter enclosure consisting of 4 pens, so 4 different enclosures, 256 living compartments, and 16 burrows that led to the food and the water. So with the plague-free environment, a plenitude of comforts, a lack of predation, and an unlimited supply of consumables, the mice would enjoy all the luxuries equivalent to modern human life. And again, he started it with the 4 pairs of mice. Okay, during the first 104 days, he called this the strive period. The mice adjusted and marked their territory, began nesting, having babies. This was followed by the exploit period, which saw the population double every 55 days.
Okay.
By the 315th day, it had 620 mice. So this is interesting here. Despite the abundance of space, so they had a lot of space, because each compartment could house up to 15 mice, and the overall enclosure was built for 3,000. Most mice were crowding into select areas and eating from the same food source.
Okay.
So even though they had all the space, they stuck together in small
Some
little
corner.
places. Yeah. Maybe like cities, right? And then he says here, all of the huddling led to a drop in sex, in mating, and the birth rate soon fell to a third of what it was before.
What is huddling?
Huddle together, right? Like if people get together, right?
Okay.
And then it says, a social imbalance also took place among the mice.
Yeah.
1/3 became socially dominant.
Oh, like,
The other 2/3 turned out less socially adept, so they weren't very good socially.
Okay.
And as bonding skills diminished among the mice, Universe 25 went into a slow but irreversible decline. So their bonding skills, right? They like personal social skills started to, get impacted. By day 315, behavior disparities between males of high and low status became more pronounced. So now the high-value males and the low-value males started having issues, right?
Okay.
So those at the bottom found themselves spurned by the females. The females wanted nothing to do with the low-value males
Okay.
and withdrew from mating altogether, stopped having sex.
Okay.
Having no roles to fulfill within the society of mice, these outcast males just wandered apart from the larger groups to eat and sleep alone and sometimes fight.
So pity.
The alpha males became more aggressive, and often launched into violence with no clear provocation or motive. So just violence, like no reason, just violence, right? At times these males would roam around and rape without reason, rape other mice.
What?
Regardless of gender.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the beta males, the guys who are between the two, not the alphas and not the guys at
Middle
the bottom,
class.
yeah, kind of, grew timid, a little bit like shy and like introvert kind of, and often wound up being the passive recipients of violence. So the violence would be done to them.
Oh.
In several instances, bloodbaths ended with a cannibalistic feast for the victors.
Right?
So, no, cannibal, eat your own species.
Eat them.
Yeah.
Ayoo.
So when I was young, I used to keep snakes. I used to breed mice.
Okay.
And this happened to me once. I had, not that many, I had a cage with some mice, and the one day I went there, and the one male had killed all the other mice and eaten their stomachs. So I've actually seen this happen. So with male mice abandoning their traditional roles, the females were left to take care of the nests. So because of this, many females adopted more aggressive forms of behavior, which would sometimes also become violent towards their young. Others would refrain from motherly duties altogether, so they wouldn't be good mothers, banishing their unraised litters and withdrawing from further mating. So just like pushing their kids away, not looking after them, and not mating. Some compartments' infant mortality rate was higher than 90%.
Okay.
And he named this the stagnation phase. Okay. And he attributed the overly aggressive and passive behavior to the breakdown of social roles.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't this interesting? To see what happens when you have a society where you have everything, where everything is easy, you don't have too much, you're not worried about like dangers, it's all comfortable, you have everything you want, and something just goes nuts.
It
right?
reminds me about one TV shows, one movie.
Okay.
TV shows is like the one you've recommend to me. It's like at a time people's memory is in the chip. They can move the chip.
Altered carbon.
Altered carbon, right? Those rich people, they won't die, so they are so boring. They hire some people for each other and die, right? They see other people die. And another movie is Django. It's from Quentin Tarantino. And Leonardo DiCaprio, he played a rich white people. He also gets some black, maybe fighter, like he is like
I've seen the movie.
As he is a product, and they ask him fight each other, and even when he piss off, he asks the dog to bite them. Like getting the pieces. It's like a little race behavior, right?
Sure.
Just I say, because those rich people have too many money, so they don't know. They need to find something to play. Become very aggressive.
But the best is still coming.
And did you finish yet?
Because by the 560th day, amid the violence and the hostility and lack of mating, a younger generation of mice grew up. They reached maturity. And they were never exposed to examples of normal, healthy behavior. So they have no concept of mating, no concept of parenting, no concept of marking their territory, like using pee and stuff. This generation of mice spent all of their time, when they were awake, eating, drinking, and grooming themselves. Grooming, yeah, right? Basically just like, and I think that he called them the beautiful ones.
If they have phone, they gonna use a phone selfie.
Exactly. Now, how about this? Living in seclusion from the other mice. They separated themselves from the others. They were spared the violence and conflict. So no violence and conflict happened to them that was happening in the other areas. So they were just like the beautiful ones. They left the rest of society to live by themselves, and no violence happened to them. How crazy, right? So
what a twisted society.
Yeah. So according to him, the death phase was 2 stages. The first death and the second death. The first one was like a loss of purpose in life. So the rats like just had no purpose, right? And that's the first death. No desire to mate, or have sex. No desire to raise kids. No desire to have establish a role in your society. Just not going to do anything. So that was the first death. Was represented by this like lazy kind of lives of the beautiful ones. The second death was like the literal end of their society, the extinction.
Kill themselves.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting, right? Like you don't want to have kids. You don't want to raise kids. You don't even want to try and establish yourself in society. Like, doesn't that sound like so much that's happening in the world today, right? It's very interesting, right?
Grooming one, selfie, Instagram filter.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. So at the end of this, he looked at this and he tried to make his conclusions and everything. And he argued that experiences such as tension, stress, anxiety, and the need to survive make it necessary to engage in society. When all needs are accounted for and no conflict exists, the act of living is stripped to its barest essentials of just food and sleep. And that's, in his view, the paradox of a life without work or conflict. So when you don't have work and when you don't have conflict, this is what's going to happen. So basically you need work and you need conflict.
Okay.
when all sense of necessity is taken away from life, individual life ceases to have purpose, and the individual dies in spirit.
They die inside.
Yeah. So that's what he said here. So an endless supply of food, water, and other resources were still there for the mice. And they still had space, they had food, they had water, but it didn't matter. The behavior sink had set in, and there was no stopping Universe 25 from ending. Soon enough, there was not a single living mouse left. All right, so that's it's some crazy stuff, right? I think I get what you were saying. It's the more you look at this, you just stop thinking about rats and you start thinking about
human.
This sounds so similar to what you see in society.
Yeah. Something in society.
Yeah. So there's just a little bit left, and then we'll discuss something else, right? So before the rodent utopia imploded entirely, he removed some of the beautiful ones to see whether they would live more productive lives if released into a new society.
They take them to another group.
And they try to put them somewhere else to see what would happen. And so he said, placing these mice in a fresh setting with few of the other rats from before, a scenario similar to that which greeted the initial pairs. Okay, so he tried to do just restart the experiment using some of the beautiful ones. He expected the beautiful ones to awake from their asocial haze and answer nature's call to populate the new environment. However, the relocated mice showed no signs of change from their earlier behavior, refusing to mate or interact among new peers. The reclusive mice eventually died of natural causes. They just died. And the little new society ended without one baby being born.
Okay.
So it's kind of like they didn't know how. They'd lost the ability to be mice and do what mice do.
They don't have any model. I mean, someone.
Like a role model. Or someone to show them, and they never developed.
Some rats to show them.
So it's like if you don't develop those abilities when you're young, it's very hard when you're older to change.
That's what happened in human.
Yeah.
We are animal.
So this is his final kind of stuff. The mouse is a simple creature, but it must develop the skills for courtship. Courtship is like dating, child rearing, territorial defense, defending your territory, and personal role fulfillment on the domestic and communal front. If such skills fail to develop, the individual will neither reproduce nor find a productive role within society. As with mice, all species will grow older and gradually die out. There's nothing to suggest human society isn't prone to the same things that happen to the mice. If the number of qualified individuals exceeds the number of openings in society, chaos and alienation will be the inevitable outcomes. And individuals raised under the latter conditions will lack any relation to the real world. Psychological fulfillment will be their only drive in life. And just as mice thrive on a set of complex behaviors, the concern for others developed in post-industrialized human skills, and the understanding is vital to man's continuance as a species. The loss of these attributes within a civilization could lead to its collapse. So he was really relating this to people and saying that, according to him, the same kind of thing could happen
in
humans. So what do you think?
Yeah, what I think is like I
Crazy,
can see some
right?
example in
Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm talking with you. Don't worry.
Look at me like I can see some examples.
No, the grooming one. No, I think the grooming one really sounds like funny. I think it's really like a young generation.
It does seem a bit, right? Like the people who live on Instagram and their whole life is just about creating an Instagram thing for other people to watch. It does seem a lot like that. They
couldn't live out with filter.
Yeah. And what about the rise of young men living in their parents' basements all around the world, like not working. What about lie down flat in China? The Great Resignation.
Yeah.
Don't you start to see a lot of these types of behaviors, and people not having kids?
Maybe not having kids. I don't know what's those mouse reason. But I think now humans don't have kids just because one is they think they don't have any money. Another thing is they want to enjoy their individual life.
I think that's the second one more. I think people say, yes, they don't have money, but do you think that people 100 years ago were any different? Life was hard. I think more in the world today, you could have kids, but you'd have less. You might not have the car you want or the house you want. You'd have to struggle.
Maybe
and
they want.
sacrifice.
I still need the big house, a big car. I need the kind of life. But if I need to do some sacrifice to have
That's
more
the problem.
kids. So okay, but I don't know what's in their brain. Maybe
Sure. But it's similar, right?
The results is similar, but how the mind think? Oh, I'm so busy. I'm down here. I don't want to move.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of people who.
If I have more mice, baby mice, I need to breed them. No, I don't want to do that. Too hardworking.
Sure. So someone is talking about a similar thing though. Elon Musk, right?
Oh,
And this
really?
is from January 19th, warning about population collapse.
okay. What is that?
That the population of Earth is going to collapse.
Uh-huh.
So I've seen some stuff about this recently, like the replacement rate is around 2 kids per woman or per couple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to keep your current population. And this one video I was watching was talking about this, and it was saying that South Korea is the biggest example because their rate is half. So basically saying that the next generation is going to be cut in half because people aren't having enough kids.
Okay.
And Elon Musk, I've seen a few interviews, he's been talking about this, and he's been saying that actually this is going to lead, and the human population is going to go off a cliff and it's
Okay.
going to rapidly drop.
All right.
And if you think about it, right, Japan, America's getting there too, China, Taiwan, South Korea.
Yeah, low birth rate.
Where's China going to get a replacement for that massive population that they have? Where are they going to find?
They try to force people to get more kids now.
Oh, possibly, right? But I think it's been the one-child thing was for so long that it's very hard now to change their behavior to get people to want to have 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's warned. And this is from January 19th, and you can see that he was talking to people and warning that the world should be worried about a population collapse. And in that same video that I watched, they were saying that this isn't as visible in the news now because it's about 10 years away when we're really going to start seeing it. And then the guy was saying that in about 10 years' time, you're really going to hear a lot more about this population issue. Because, the problem is it should look like a triangle. But if it inverts and now you have more old people than young people, then there's not going to be enough capital.
Yeah.
Right, so for people to start businesses, and then how are those amount of young people going to support and pay enough taxes for all those older people to be able to keep living and have social security and medical? And that the way Elon Musk describes it is that thing will just fall over.
Yeah.
So doesn't it look like we're on the same road as those poor mice? Like that's what we started the segment talking about, like comfort and convenience. Maybe that's what's happened, right? Life got far too convenient, and because of that we're following. And maybe this is a thing that's in all living kind of creatures, or maybe mammals. That when life gets too easy and there's too much convenience and stuff, it will cause the implosion of your population.
Oh. Maybe.
It's also maybe why the dude has like 7 or 8 kids, right?
I don't think so.
No, he does. He has like 7 or 8 children.
That's not the reason he tried to make 6, 7. I think it's just maybe.
I think I saw a cool.
He just didn't.
But there was a tweet. Yeah, he says, yeah, someone said it. Said, you're fighting that trend hard. He said, yeah, trying to set a good example.
It's a joke, I think it's just trying to wear it.
So that's the one example. But then what about other things that we can see? Because it seems like society kind of goes in some strange directions. I saw this the other day. If this is not a great example, I don't know what is. But Apple's now got a new emoji.
They want more men
A pregnant man.
to help to get more baby because only for women it's too hard. Maybe men also join to
Possibly.
to contribute.
Or it just shows that we're living in this really distorted reality now where everything is completely gone nuts. And that's why people now accept that men can get pregnant. And maybe this is all like a big warning sign when things start to go a bit strange, right? So I also saw another picture that I wanted to show you. Yeah. And you can see, I saw this.
A woman.
So do you know all these people? So
yeah, I know that.
So Elizabeth Warren, she like got a test and showed she's like 1/1000th Native American. So she is Native American. Right.
Right.
And she is an expert. A 15-year-old girl talking about climate change. She's now an expert.
They call her expert?
Well,
I
she talked at the UN, right? And they were listening to her.
Oh, everyone listen to her. Her voice is louder than other experts.
And Bill Gates. People are taking this guy's advice about vaccines and sicknesses. Is he a scientist? No. And Michelle Obama was complaining about being oppressed.
What is oppressed?
Oppressed. Let's see it in Chinese, right? Oppressed. We can make sure we get the
like
accurate thing.
Feeling pushing down?
How do you say it?
Yeah. 被压迫.
Yes, apparently
push you.
she was complaining about being oppressed, although I think that they're all pretty rich and have all sorts of homes all over the place. So she's interesting. George Floyd. I mean, sorry that he died, that stuff, but as far as
he's
a person,
criminal.
yeah, I mean, he put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach and another black woman and robbed her and brought a whole lot of guys into her house, and he did some terrible
and now
things.
He's a hero.
Peaceful protests, remember?
Oh,
with the fire burning in the background.
Is that Antifa or LN?
I'm not sure, one of those. And we did this one the last time, Woman of the Year. One is a dude. Well,
the general.
It's a biological man, we should say. Biden is competent. Do you know competent? Like, how do you say competent? Like you do your job well. Like you're...
you are not easy to beat. Like
no, let's see. Let's get the right word. How do you say it?
Oh, 胜任的, just you are very capable.
Capable, yeah. So, Biden, right.
All right, Biden.
So, I just saw this and I thought it would be a cool thing to introduce because don't you think that when you look at this, you just look at the world and think things are upside down?
Oh, yes.
Men are pregnant men emojis, you know, government leaders listening to 15-year-old girls, all this stuff. It's just pretty crazy, right? So maybe
they're making fuss.
these are all signs that we're going down the same road as those
like
rats.
Mouse? So what's their role if they compare to the mouse?
For me, I just think that it's just a sign that logic has left the building and that strange things that no one ever thought before are all of a sudden becoming popular. Fringe ideas that were on the sides of society are becoming popular. People's role models is to be one of the beautiful ones, basically, right? How many people want to be an Instagram person, right? Do nothing and just like take pictures and build an imaginary life on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
literally can earn money from
that. So people's goals for a lot of people, what are their goals? And then a whole lot of people not doing anything, saying, I don't want to work. Or I want to just lie down flat.
Yeah.
So maybe it's all part of the same thing, that because of convenience and comfort and just abundance of everything, this is going to cause the same kind of thing to happen that happened to the rats. Unless maybe life gets difficult again. Maybe that's what's needed. And then
So
it will change everything.
that.
And you saw that with Ukraine, right? Because there were some like trans women in Ukraine, and they tried to leave, and they turned them around and they said, "No, you're a dude. Go back."
Yeah,
right?
you're a man.
So maybe when life gets tough, some of these things will kind of
Change.
end.
Yeah, but like in those mice, they already have this behavior when they are young. Even they put into a new environment, they still behave the same way.
Sure. But
So-
maybe with people though, there's still enough people that it
Mm-hmm.
still can kind of correct.
Okay.
Maybe there just weren't enough rats in that experiment, right?
Yeah, try to change them.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that would be, because everything we did today was so serious, I thought that might be, it's a little serious, but it's also kind of fun to see all the crazy
I
things
still
that happen.
don't
right?
understand why they put a pregnant man. I guess sometimes women will make a fun joke. They say, "Oh, pregnant is so hard. If men can get pregnant."
No, you can figure that one out, right? That's because they're pandering to the trans agenda.
Trans woman.
Wow, it's all about trans, right?
No.
Because that's what they keep saying. Men can have periods, men can have babies, and now they got this thing.
Trans woman.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's the reason, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, what did the guy from Fox News say? He said that this is a step towards acceptance for men with beer guts, with the fat men. because they got too much beer. But I mean, it's good to see that at least Apple is dealing with the important issues. You know, so,
They are so trendy. Huh?
yeah. Right. So I'd love to know what anybody else thinks about that. Do you think people are destined to go extinct? I wonder.
Destitute.
Go extinct, right? Like the rats. Do you think that our population is gonna...
No, of course not.
Really?
Hey, maybe some people won't.
I wonder, right? Look at the food shortages that are coming. Look at the way everything is. Look at so many things. You got to wonder if maybe we are heading towards some crazy kind of event. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can turn it around. But
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Hopefully we can go back to
Something,
normal.
right. All right, so let us know what you think. And please, if you enjoy, we're trying to mix it up and do different topics. If you enjoy what you're doing, just take that finger, give us a like or a subscribe, or help us get another subscriber. That would be great.
Yeah.
I think soon we're going to have more videos than subscribers.
It's
on our
already.
channel,
It's
right?
already.
It's already. Yeah, we're
Videos
hitting
are
we're hitting a
more.
new record with that, right? But you know what? We like doing this. We love sharing information. It's a labor of love.
What?
The labor of love. It's like let's see if we can translate that into Chinese. It's like something that you're doing. You're putting a lot of time into it, but it's for love.
Oh, how to say it in?
Does that make sense? No.
No. How does? But I know. Just when you do something you really like, you don't feel it's a job.
No, that's a little bit different. No, this is just a labor of love. Is like you're putting time and effort into something. The root cause is just love, and that's it. I mean, for me, it's like, do you know what? If we never make any money with this channel, Swabian, I don't mind.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, we can do something and make it bigger. But if we can just help one person somewhere and make someone think, to me, that would be good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully not. Hopefully, we can make it into something where we can do better research and add Chinese subtitles and
Yeah.
try and get more guests and do some stuff. That would be fantastic. But yeah. Right. So, you happy? Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, Chai.
Right. And
You too.
we'll do this again soon. And to everybody else, please stay safe. And
Stay
we'll be
safe.
back soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.